This is our chef, Deborah Kelly. She most recently has worked as a pastry chef for special events at Broder here in Nordia House. She graduated from the Oregon Culinary Institute with a degree in Culinary Management in 2017. Previously, she has played in and managed a band called the Lingonberry Jam, who is a folk dance band for over 16 years. And previously, she worked in healthcare for about 32 years. And so without further ado, I will hand it over to Deborah.
Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here to be teaching you how to make Kransekake. It's a traditional Scandinavian cake that's made for holidays and other special events. Kransekake, or Kransekage, as it's said in Danish, has its origins in Copenhagen in the 18th century in a bakery there. Typically, 18 graduated rings are stacked up and then decorated with white icing or small fruits or greenery or little paper flags. Made of almond flour, powdered sugar, and egg whites, the cookies are crispy on the outside and chewy on the inside. The traditional recipe, very close to Italian Amaretti, is gluten-free and dairy-free. For this class, you'll be given the same recipe that we use here at Broder Soder Cafe to make Kransekake. You'll be able to watch the ingredients be combined and shaped into molds, and you'll be given some ideas for decorating with royal icing. If you want to buy a set of molds, they are available for sale in the Finware shop here in Nordia House or online. Okay, this is the food processor from the restaurant, but the one that I have at home works for making Kransekake. First of all, I'm going to put in 4 egg whites. They're large egg whites, and I measured these at home. It's really best to weigh your eggs. Large eggs should be 50 to 55 grams. And I've used extra large eggs. And sometimes the hen house, they'll put extra large eggs in a large box. And so that's why it's good to weigh them. Make sure that they're 50 to 55 grams, and then you'll end up with the right size of amount of whites. If you get too much egg white in this recipe, the dough will be too sticky to handle, and also it'll puff up too much in the oven and spread out all over inside your molds. So. Okay, 1. 2. 3. Okay, 4. And then we want a teaspoon of salt. And a pound of almond meal. Which is ground up almonds. You could make your own almond meal, but it's easier to buy it. And 1.5 pounds of powdered sugar. You get so full you think this isn't going to work, but it does. So I'm going to make some noise here. Okay, it's that fast. You're looking for the texture. It'll be crumbly like this. I can see the texture, but it's moist, and you can pinch it together. And then at this point, it needs to go. I need it a little bit to combine it, and then it needs to go into the refrigerator for overnight or up to 3 days. But I'm going to get some of the crumbles out so you can see the texture. See what it looks like. It's really crumbly. And you squeeze it together till it's a really uniform texture. See? It's still a little bit sticky, so it helps to be overnight in the refrigerator, and I think that also dries it out a little bit. So I'm going to pretend that that's going into the refrigerator. And out comes some that's already been chilled. So I separated into 6 or 8 little balls to get ready to work with on the countertop. And it's really hard to work with a really giant piece because we're going to be rolling it into long ropes, and you want to have a small enough piece that you can control the diameter of the rope. So it's still a little bit, it's not quite homogeneous yet, so I'm going to squeeze it a little bit more. It won't hurt this dough at all to work with it. It's not like it has gluten in it. There's no wheat flour in it at all, so it won't get tough if you keep squeezing it, unlike biscuits. You don't want to squeeze your biscuits, but this won't get tough. So we're rolling this out, and I'm looking for my bench scraper. Could I borrow somebody's knife, please? Thank you. It's easier with a bench scraper. And if I find it, I'll show you. So you want this rope to be about a ½ an inch in diameter, or about the diameter of a kindergarten pencil. Okay, and then we get out the molds and some cookie sheets. Now the Kransekake molds come usually in this type has a non-stick coating. So I pamper mine, and I keep putting them away in their plastic bags so that they don't lose their non-stick coating. And I also don't wash them in the dishwasher. So I'll fill one of these and show you how it works. So I'm cutting this rope in half lengthwise. And then you put the flat side up and the round side down inside the mold, and you start pressing it so that the level of the dough is flat with the level of the mold. And you keep working your way around, pressing like that. You don't want it too much in the mold or it will overflow and all the rings will stick together. So you splice them together when you run out. Press, 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 so that it's at the level of the top of the mold. And then you work your way around again. Pressing, pressing. Does anybody want me to do that again? I rolled out the dough in a rope, cut it in half lengthwise, put the round side down, and then I pressed it into the rings. Everybody okay? Okay. All right. So 2 rings, 2 of the molds will fit in one cookie sheet this size. So if you want to cook them all at once in your oven, you'll need 3 cookie sheets. 6 molds. Each mold has 3 rings. Okay. Those pretend we're going into the oven. And out of the oven comes all these rings, and you have to organize them by size. They're kind of fragile. You want to take them out of the molds while they're still warm, or they're a lot more likely to break. If they do break, the royal icing that we're going to make is kind of like glue, and you can glue the rings back together if they break. Yeah, just take them out of the molds while they're still warm. So what we're going to hook them together with and decorate them with is royal icing. So you're going to go for more egg whites. So the royal icing takes 3 large egg whites, and again, the eggs should be 50 to 55 grams with the shell on, and half a teaspoon salt and a pound of powdered sugar. Instead of egg whites, you could use those 3 egg whites, you could use 5 tablespoons of meringue powder in half a cup of water. And if you ask in Fred Meyer, they can find you some. It's not readily obvious where it is. So how many did I put in there? I think I put 1 in. One of the nice things about meringue powder, pretty much restaurants always have to put a disclaimer on their menu if there's any raw egg in anything or undercooked egg, because it's unsafe for people that are immunocompromised or babies, that kind of thing. So the meringue powder is sterile for sure, and it's safe for people that are immunocompromised. So 2, I think. Here we go, 3. Or all right. And you want to use the paddle attachment on your mixer because the whisk attachment will beat too much air into it and the bubbles will make it rough. So you want the paddle attachment. And you want a pound of powdered sugar. and a half a teaspoon of salt. Okay. So I'm going to make some noise again. All right. It needs to make a little, when you pull the beater up out of the liquid, it needs to make like a little hook that stays there. And this is still too wet, so I'm going to add some more powdered sugar. It's too wet. I'm surprised someone hasn't called in and said, but wait, you lost count. You put in 5 egg whites. Yeah, you can't see inside the bowl, but it's starting to leave a little bit of a shape when it drips back in. That's what we want. When I bake the Kransekake, I turn the sheets end for end and switch racks because most ovens have a hot spot, and you can see here, even though I did that, you can see that the darkness of the rings are different. Even though I was so careful and switched racks in between, but what you really don't want is a dark brown, and just watch it really carefully while it's in the oven. So it's baked at 300 degrees with the racks in the middle. We brush the molds with margarine so that it stays dairy-free before we put the dough in. And one of the nice things about this royal icing, or any kind of icing, is that you can overcome a multitude of errors when you're practicing by just scraping it off and doing it again. It's much more forgiving than oil paint or something like that. You're going to end up with some leftover dough. And as I said, it's almost like the same recipe for Italian Amaretti. You can put pine nuts in it and bake the leftover like that. You can shape it into little pretzels and put some egg wash on it and sprinkle Swedish pearl sugar on it. Just don't throw away the leftover dough. Some people like to just eat it, but it's fun to play with. If you can color the royal icing if you want. Use just like a toothpick to add color to it because a little bit goes a long way. When you're not using the royal icing, you should cover it with plastic wrap. It dries pretty fast, and it dries like glue. If it gets too dry, it's hard to force through the pastry bag tips, and it won't stick to the rings if it gets too dry. What we're going to be using for pastry tips is a number 3 line tip and a little small star tip. And it's really inspiring to go online and do a search for Kransekake and then look at images. I'm not sure these will show up on the camera. I'll put one of them up there and see if you can see it. But there's a lot of inspiration online. And here's one here that's decorated with white icing and greenery. Okay. And you can pass these to people, let people look at these as well. Okay. So we're going to do pastry bag 101. So it helps to have a heavy mug to hold your pastry bag in while you're filling it, and don't overfill it. Turn the cuff down and only put in maybe 2/3 full. And the way these couplers work, it looks like this. There's a male and a female piece, and so put the male piece inside the pastry bag, and then you put on whatever tip you're going to use, and then you put the female piece around the tip, and then you screw the threads of the screw part are picked up through the bag by the ring. There, okay. I can make some more of this if there isn't enough to go around for all of us to practice with it. It's very, very easy to make. So you fold it down, squish all the icing down to the bottom. Fold it over and over again. Okay, so there are a couple of tricks to using a pastry bag. One of them is to use constant, even pressure on the bag. So I'm going to make some little stars on this cookie sheet because we're going to pass out these rings and the class is going to decorate. Okay, and so if you're using the line tip and doing swirls on the cookie ring, you touch the ring and then come away and then touch it again and then come away and touch it again. Okay. All right. So I want to show you one more thing before we're ready to let the students practice. This is really a wonderful tool if you're decorating a Kransekake or any other cake with a pastry bag. And this is a small plate, or this is styrofoam, but I'm going to leave it here. So I didn't bring one of my ceramic plates. But anyway, this is going to be our cake plate. We would put some of the royal icing on the cake plate and then put a doily down. So we're using it as glue. Then we would take the first ring and we'd put royal icing all around the underneath side of the ring on the flat side, and then use that to glue down the ring centered on your doily. So then as you decorate it, there's going to be another ring on top, so you're just decorating the side of this. And the Lady Susan is wonderful. You can work your way around like that. As soon as you get done with that ring, decorating that ring, you put royal icing on top of that, and then put the next ring on top of the first one, and you work your way up. It's really good to step away and make sure you're not creating a leaning tower. Look north-south and look again east-west and make sure that it's nice and straight. So when the Kransekake was on display here at Nordia House 2 Christmases ago, they put a little gnome inside the top. It was really cute. But there's just endless ways that you can decorate it.